As we use our enjoyment of gaming to build beloved community, I like to always begin and end in gratitude. So thanks for checking out this video. Oh, I have slipped the surly bonds of earth and danced the skies on laughter-silvered wings. Someward I've climbed and joined the tumbling mirth of sun-split clouds and done 100 things you have not dreamed of. Wheeled and soared and swung high in the sunlit silence. Hovering there, I've chased the shouting wind along and flung my eager craft through footless halls of air. Up the long, delirious, burning blue. I've topped the windswept heights with easy grace, where never lark nor ever eagle flew. And, while with silent lifting mind I've trod the high untrespassed sanctity of space, put out my hand and touched the face of God.
But why some say the moon? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
What was it about President Kennedy's speech in September 1962 that was compelling then and stays with us now? It wasn't just the amount of money being spent, even for the time. Indeed, Eisenhower submitted after Kennedy's speech that spending $40 billion to reach the moon was, quote, just nuts, unquote. It wasn't just the lack of immediacy of practical outcome. I would argue it was indeed the opposite. This was the articulation of a vision, a dream, a hope. JFK was proposing something long-term that would abide in the effort, in the doing, in the result. A national project reflecting a nation's best possible effort. I think that Paul Burka, the executive director of Texas Monthly magazine, a Rice alum who was present in the crowd that day, gets it right. He submitted that the speech, quote, speaks to the way Americans viewed the future in those days. It is a great speech, one that encapsulates all of recorded history and seeks to set it in the history of our own time. Unlike today's politicians, Kennedy spoke to our best impulses as a nation, not our worst, unquote. Indeed, even after his assassination, Kennedy's nation, replete with that hope, that dream, that vision, went on to deliver the technology, the innovation, and the will to land men on the moon and return them safely to Earth. In doing so, we turned military men into test pilots, then into astronauts, and then into legends.
Coming down to 23. 540 feet and a 15. 10 and 50 feet down at 4. Altitude, velocity, light. Go. Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
It's that cycle of becoming one's best, of doing things at your best that, in the moment, seem not to be possible, and then forging the new thinking and the new practices that make it possible, that I want to talk about with you today. Because I believe that after a decade or two of something else in gaming, we're on the cusp of a moment in gaming that harkens back to this moonshot sentiment. And while this video won't seek to encapsulate all of video game history and set it in the history of this project, I do think it is important for you to understand my own gaming history and the resultant context it gives me when I submit that Star Citizen is in fact the first quadruple-A experience in video gaming history. The project, to my mind, encapsulates all of video gaming and seeks to set its best intent in our own current chaotic moment. In doing so, in reaching for the gaming stars, it has one singular, transformative, amazing chance to become a true video gaming legend. Let me tell you more. Where I stand on video games generally, and on Star Citizen in particular, comes from where I'm sat. I happen to be of an age where I was raised alongside two massive cultural phenomena, hip-hop music and video gaming. As both grew to prominence, well, I've been here for it all. Why my own hip-hop history has to be another video. In 1976, my father, himself a big cookout pinochle and electric football player, brought home my first video game console, the Telstar Ranger.
You're watching the most exciting game you will ever see on your TV set. Telstar by Coleco.
Described as the most exciting game ever on the TV set, it wasn't necessarily that, but it was a start in gaming for 6-year-old me. From there, I went on to own and play with the Atari 2600, the Intellivision, really the Sears Super Video Arcade, because everything in our house came from Sears, where I played Tron Deadly Discs until my thumbs fell off, the Texas Instruments TI-99-4A, my first computer, the Apple IIe with the green phosphorescent Monitor 3 on which I played Elite and Sundog, my second computer, the Commodore 64 with my first 300 baud 1660 modem. I wasn't a CompuServe guy, I was a Prodigy guy. My third computer, and then I got my first IBM PC clone, the Compaq Desk Pro 286. And while, of course, consoles stayed in my life, even to this day, I really became a PC gaming guy forevermore after that. My love of PC gaming took off and never has landed. And while we could talk Zork or Calabeth or front page sports football, the legacy of Star Citizen is found in the history and the legacy of the sim games of all kinds we played growing up. Sim games like what? Well, glad you asked. Deep breath, deep breath, deep breath. Hours with games and sims like F-15 Strike Eagle, F-15 Strike Eagle 2, F-15 Strike Eagle 3, F-19 Stealth Fighter, running full 3-hour nonstop races in Papyrus and EA's seminal Indianapolis 500 The Simulation, Star Wars X-Wing, Star Wars TIE Fighter, Star Wars X-Wing vs. TIE Fighter, and of course X-Wing Alliance, where we can fly the Millennium Falcon, the Elite Series, Star Control, Sci-Fi Trading Company, Interplay's seminal Star Trek Starfleet Academy, Microsoft Flight Simulator, Microsoft Space Simulator, iWar, with the incredibly characterized Jefferson Clay, iWar 2, the 10 out of 10 undeniable Free Space 2, the Community Free Space 2 mods and total conversions like the incredible Beyond the Red Line, based on the reimagined TV show Battlestar Galactica, of course, all the Wing Commander Privateer Freelancer series, excluding Wing Commander Academy, and the 11 out of 10 experience that was Falcon 4.0. Does anyone still have the manual? I'll buy it off you. I could go on, but suffice to say that like hip-hop, I feel that with home video gaming, I've been here since the beginning. And I can tell you that across all those decades, my friends and I have used that time, not just for play, but for contemplation, for insight. And I can tell you truthfully, there has been nothing at all like Star Citizen. What makes me submit that? What makes me submit that this is the first AAA gaming experience of all time? I have 3 distinct reasons. Reason number 1, the synthesis of tech heretofore unseen. By the time you see this, CitizenCon 2953 and its panels will have passed. and we will have gotten new, leading-edge insight into the tech that drives our verse. From Star Engine to resource management tech, to the unprecedented detail in ships and in ground vehicles, to new user interfaces and evolved character creation, to the next steps in AI and NPC function, to the flight model, 30th century environments, missions, and gameplay. It's kind of easy to argue that all of it, put together at this level, has, in general, never been done before. But in particular, the detail and scale being attempted by CIG regarding the replication layer and server meshing via graphing to 3D environments simply has never been done before. Not ever in gaming, and maybe not ever at all. I'll quote in my own first YouTube video, Tibio's Twisted World, in one of his own first YouTube videos, when he responds to critics regarding this attempted feat by CIG and the critical bah humbug submission across these here internets.
And as a networking person, just stop. Just stop that. This level of problem they're trying to solve has baffled since the Enlightenment. This is not simple stuff they're doing. Frankly, I can't believe they have the guts to try it. So please don't minimize what they're trying to do.
I wholeheartedly agree with that sentiment. Most of us don't know what it is like to work in an environment committed every day to the creation of something perfectly unique from next to nothing, through the delivery of two pillars, results and culture. The actual ultimate outcome as a result of several thousand small outcomes. The game, or two, that we get to play, and at the same time, the daily ways of life, the culture, that's exhibited and built and created and delivered for all the human beings involved. The strategic insights, partnerships, group dynamics, additions, exits, the steps forward, backward, to the side, and out of the room entirely. The late nights, the early mornings. Very few of us have shown that type of commitment to anything, even to ourselves. As we have the opportunity to bear witness to the synthesis of tech, to offer the heretofore unseen in gaming, I'd imagine we'd get excited, lower the critical voice, and elevate the voice that invites us to imagine not only what we will be able to do across CIG gaming space with new tech, but interestingly, what CIG will be able to share with others should they be able to pull this off. Reason number 2, the centering of community in the experience of Star Citizen game development and funding. Speaking of us, of community, do me a favor. For those of you in the community who weren't here at or near the beginning, just take a look at the video history of the Star Citizen YouTube channel to understand how, from the very start, this project was about community inclusion at its most authentic. The clear intent to do so, the mistakes in communication, the shaping and reshaping of shows and offerings, of the website, of the evolution of Spectrum, of longer form contributions like Jump Point, Evocati Access, Issue Council approaches and development, Bar Citizens, Virtual Bar Citizens, Citizen Cons, again, a con for a game that has not yet been released. All of that and more reflects one pillar of how CIG has been community-centered in very unique ways, particularly for games at the highest end of fidelity, delivery, and performance. The other pillar is a more pragmatic, more straightforward one. It's simpler. We fund the game. Yes, there are a couple of silent partners that CIG have brought into the project, but the vast majority of funds for everything that we are to this point has come from us. No publisher looming over the shoulder of every dev and every decision, more beholden to institutional investors and bonuses than to a vision. No quarterly cycle of development that drives tool and feature truncation serving as completion. No resultant overall diminishment of the larger project outcome because of those ostensible choices, which are really forced outcomes themselves. And when we realize that the odyssey CIG devs get to go on, exploring and implementing the fullness of their ideas, exploring and implementing new tools and new functionality, and not cutting edge, not leading edge, but edge of edge technologies. That all comes from us, from our commitment to the same. We realize that if we just reflected upon these two pillars alone, we'd have an emergent definition of a form of highest end gaming that dwarfs current models for AAA games. But in fact, there's a third pillar that ensures that what we're in the midst of is something entirely new, suitably different from what's come before. Reason number 3, the relentless ambition of Chris Roberts.
Please welcome to the stage, Chris Roberts.
Good morning, everyone. So here we go, press my little button. So what am I going to build? So I'm going to build a universe, and the sort of name of the universe, or the community I'm talking about is going to be called Star Citizen. The idea is that there's sort of something that you can attain and work towards, and also I like the idea of citizenship, because I sort of feel like one of the things I want to do with this game is I want to say, hey, you know what? PC games are cool, space games are cool, and I think it's kind of a community.
The focus of Chris Roberts in this moment, with these opportunities, one, the development of brand new tech that has never been seen before, and two, the commitment, seemingly unending, of us as a community, allows him to match this experience to his relentless ambition to make, as Xylo or Tyler told Linus's Tech Longer segment,
Star Citizen is the most ambitious, immersive, uncompromising universe sim ever.
And every word matters in that sentence, to the ambition that we're seeing Chris Roberts and CIG exhibit. The most ambitious, meaning not one thing more ambitious in part or in whole found anywhere in gaming. Immersive. We are fully immersed in this world. That's not even counting what CIG devs and others intend for our experience once VR is matched up with the CIG experience. Uncompromising. That there will be no settling for less in each facet of the Star Citizen experience. Universe. This is centered not on giving us a land, not on giving us a nation, not on giving us a planet, not on giving us a planetary system, but on giving us the vastness of a universe, and then forging human connection across that expanse. Sim, this ain't no arcade compromised experience. Ever. The best ever to do it across the life of more than one gaming generation. The most ambitious, immersive, uncompromising universe sim ever. CIG through Tyler went on to submit that, quote, "It is our attempt at a living universe that will ultimately become the metaverse for tens, if not hundreds of millions of people around the world. We want people to be able to escape into the verse and never have to come out, except for essentials," unquote. That attempt, that intent, that relentless, ambitious commitment, combined with heretofore never seen tech and a resource model driven almost entirely by the community that will play across visioning, development, and feature build, let alone across the released game experience, that's quadruple-A gaming. And we're here for the modern gaming moonshot that seeks to deliver it all. After all, as Robert Browning submitted, but a man's reach should exceed his grasp, or what's a heaven for? If you've gotten this far, you've made it to the end, and you definitely care about this Star Citizen project the way I do. Maybe, just maybe, you care about this channel as well. As CaptainSeriousFun across the net, we'll use the YouTube platform to explore big questions in Star Citizen and in gaming as a whole, with longer form content like this one, our first. My hope is to hear from you in the comments and that you'll like, subscribe, and connect. Nothing is more important, particularly in this moment in our lives, than authentic dialogue and connection. That we seek to value each other enough to hear each other out. That takes effort. So, as I like to begin and end in gratitude, thanks very much for being here. Additional videos will begin with access to any Patreons that decide to lean in with me and with our nascent org, and it's literally called A Pretty Good Org. And then those videos will make their way here to YouTube for all. Take care.